OGaccountability.com.
You know, when we really get to a position like when you sit back and that was like the State of the Union address. I didn't watch it.
Me either.
I didn't watch it one bit. And
I didn't even know it was on.
I knew it was on, and when it came on, I just turned it off.
I don't know. I heard he fell down the stairs again getting on the airplane.
I saw that. Poor guy. And I really do feel for him.
Yeah.
It's elder abuse what they're doing to him. His
100%.
family is.
They should have stepped in and said, Dad, you've served this country for how many years in the Senate? It's time, and as vice president, it's time to sit down.
But you see, doesn't that kind of give us an idea of how superficial they are, even at the family, in the family level there. You know, even the families are so ingrained with having power and corruption that they would rather march the head of the family or the patriarch of the family out in front of people.
Yeah, it's sad.
It's sad. It's horrible. There's no way that guy should have our nuclear codes.
No, well, that was one of the things when I was traveling out to the coast a lot in my early 20s that really opened my eyes about the fact that, like, wow, this is America. Like, this feels really far away from Texas. You're right. People are like that. It's just a totally different reality in some of these power center places like DC and New York and stuff. These people sit down. I've been in the middle, I've just been, in the midst of conversations like this where people who, are have some level of power over something. They'll sit down and talk about how to lie, how to scam people, like how to do this thing to get one over. Everything is Machiavellian to the extreme. It's all about me, my power, my climb. What can you do for me? I'll exploit anybody. I'll step on anybody.
It's a degree of narcissism.
Well, it's a ruling class mentality, and they also completely crap over the entire middle of the country. They hate everyone who lives here.
Because we're stopping what they want to do.
Well, they're just, all of their wealth and power for the most part is illegitimate. It's either they gained it illegitimately, their authority is illegitimate, and they know it. So I think that causes them to hate people who could potentially hold them accountable for it.
Yeah, I think I was kind of that way in school. I had some problems with some teachers, and truth be told, I didn't have a problem with them. I had a problem with them holding me responsible.
Yeah.
They were great teachers. That people that aren't held responsible, just take it like kids. If you raise a kid that's uncoachable, that's unteachable, has never been held responsible, there's only going to be two things happen. They are either going to get in a position where they are finally made to be held responsible, court system, by a judge, and when you don't have that degree of responsibility, you're just really just passing the buck. It's their fault. It's like around my house. If I ever find not me, I'm going to whip his tail, because not me does everything around here. Who left the fridge open? Not me. Who left the back door open? Not me. Who ate all Dad's chips? Not me. I'm like, man, it's funny because nobody around here is responsible. It's all not me's fault.
Not me's getting one over on you, dude.
I hate not me, man. I need to bring him to the mats. But it's so true. If you raise a kid or an even adult, because some adults are being raised. Mm-hmm. I mean, just because you've hit a certain age doesn't mean that you're fully grown or raised, especially, and that's what's sad, and I talked about this with Elliot a little bit, about being a victim of circumstance. There's some kids that are born into situations that people say, well, yeah, grab yourself by the bootstraps. It's real easy to say, when you've, never walked in their shoes, but what's the saying? It takes a village. That village mentality is gone now. It is everybody's out for themselves, and nobody's responsible. Our leaders aren't responsible. If something bad happens, it was Trump's fault. If something bad happened to him, it was Obama's fault. Nobody stands up and says, "Hey, I was wrong there."
Wouldn't that be refreshing out of a politician to hear that come out of their mouth?
Keep dreaming.
I know.
It's not going to happen.
What kind of, I would love to hear that one time say, hey, look, man, I screwed up. My bad. I messed up. We're going to fix it. We're going to find a path forward.
Well, it goes to mercy and grace. We all talk about mercy and grace when we're the ones who need it. But isn't it funny when it's other people the person that needed mercy and grace yesterday is the one with the pitchfork in their hand chasing the person that needs it now.
Right? Yeah.
I had a pastor tell us that one time. Church was getting out, and he was like, everybody, this beautiful service we just had, let's carry this out into the parking lot as we leave today.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Because it's true. I'm guilty of that like anybody else is. Again, it's funny that we're talking about a lot of this stuff because I've been thinking about a lot of this stuff lately, but more like, instead of just thinking about what other people need to be doing for me, like what kind of friend do I want to be? Like what kind of person do I want to be? Like what kind of client to my my hair girl and the people that do my nails and just anybody else. Like what kind of person do I want to be? Like how do I want to show up? And when you focus on that, your whole reality changes. Like people respond to the kind of person that you are. Like a lot of the way that you get treated is it's a response to how you act.
Absolutely.
Like some of these feminists are like, people don't like me because I'm a woman. No, people don't like you because you're a bitch.
Say that a little louder. Let's say that one more time.
People don't hate you because you're a woman. They hate you because you're a bitch. And being a bitch is not the same as being strong at all.
That word's offensive to me, by the way.
Well, that's well, we're doing the non-offensive stuff here today, right?
Shoot, being offended's good. You need to be offended.
No, you do need to be offended. You don't have a right to move through the world without anybody hurting
Without
your
criticism.
feelings. Yeah, you don't have a right.
Who do you think you are?
Well, so I just had, I'll say it. I just had this conversation with somebody, literally in the past 2 days, that their experience creates reality. And by saying that, their past, if they deal with somebody that triggers any position from their past, they automatically write that person off because that's what that person is. Their past creates a reality that's not really reality.
We talked about that last week.
Yeah. And I'm like, so what you're saying is it doesn't matter what the truth is. If you have that thought, that's reality.
And they still feel they have power over you because of it.
Yeah.
That's it, 100%.
And I'm like, that's a sad way to live because you go into every situation having the answer and the outcome to every situation. Because all you have to do is feel triggered, and then you just turn it into, okay, well, that's controlling, that's this, that's, and when we talk about wishing that our freaking leaders would stand up and say, hey, I was wrong about that. Mm-hmm. Hey, this is what happened, but we don't. We can have a picture, a video of the president doing something and play it for him. And it's like Bill Clinton, I love it. He could get up in front of a whole crowd and go, I am not here. And probably pass a lie detector test because he was so good at lying. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was great at it.
He got into the definition of is. Remember that?
Right.
That's pretty. That's like deep law school stuff.
That's Johnny. That's Johnny Cochran. If the glove doesn't fit, you must quit. And so you got to be careful going into situations, but it's got to start with you. But like when people get so jaded that you can create your own reality, what is that people say? Well, that's my truth. No, truth is truth. There is no my truth. It's either the fact or it's not.
Well, that's a way for them to still be right? That's a way for them to still have justification by using that kind of language, right? They're manipulating reality in order to maintain their self-righteousness.
What's a lack of self-honesty?
Yes. Oh, we touched on that earlier.
Self-honesty.
Yep.
My dad was asking me the other day too, because he and I have like long discussions about the world and what's going on and like the deeper meanings. It's really nice actually, but my mother was asking me the other day, we were all sitting around talking about it, and she's just like, Liz, how do you know all this stuff? I'm like, Mom, it's really not that hard. Like, you just have to know about history and be honest with yourself about what's going on. Like,
the information's out there.
The information's out there. Just look around, what's going on, and what do you think about this? Like, that's all it really turn off the TV. The TV is lying to you no matter what channel it is. Mm-hmm. What is going on, and what do you think about it? And how does this line up with history? Because history doesn't always repeat, but it rhymes, and it's rhyming a lot right now. We know how a lot of this turns out.
And even the thing, we are part of the generation that we saw true reality television come to pass, and then you find out, none of that crap's reality. It's staged.
Oh, yeah.
They tell Elliot and I were talking. You know, what he's out doing is legit. It's real.
Oh yeah.
And I knew this about one of the guys that we talked about. I'd be like, man, this can't be real. Like, this something's not right about this. Well, Elliot confirmed. He's like, it's all staged. It's fake. I'm like, okay, yeah, because it doesn't work like that in life. It's fake.
I think that's the reason I've had problems, you know, just reconciling a lot of stuff ever since high school. As I could tell, I heard somebody refer to it as a spiritual immune system one time, and I love that. My spiritual immune system is very, very sensitive, and I could tell even back then that something feels very fake around here. Something feels off, like we're being lied to and like pushed into a certain level of perception that is not reality. And the longer time goes on, the more that gets exposed, which is nice because it's better than it's ever been in that regard. People are starting to see.
Yeah. If you think about it, all it takes is one time, right? Whenever you get that first enlightenment.
Where you start to realize we are being lied to. What? And then it's a cascading effect.
And then it's like, oh, that's not true. That's not true, right?
Yeah.
You start to realize it more now, and how deep the lie goes, the ruse goes.
So freeing though. It explains everything that's wrong with the world. Everything is it's engineered to look a certain way when something else is really going on.
I don't watch the news anymore, and I'm going to tell you one of the big reasons why I always watch the news. Dominique Soxa.
Isn't she beautiful?
That woman is gorgeous. I remember when she started. I'd watch when she was on. She retired. I'm like, I'll look up the weather on. She wasn't the weather lady, but, and I'm kidding. I did like watching her. But I quit watching the news, and I'm happier now that I did.
Amazing, huh?
Now, if they brought Dominique back, I'd probably watch it. Dominique, if you're watching this, I am single. But you get that crap, the programming. Think about what they call TV shows. They're called programming for a reason.
The television is going to go down as one of the greatest military weapons in all of human history.
The propaganda machine.
It's a propaganda. It was co-opted as such decades ago. They have been programming the public on purpose very intentionally for a long, long time. That's why it's going to go down as a military machine.
100%.
100%.
You're right.
That was Stalin. When you talk about propaganda, and I saw this on a documentary, may not be right, but it was on a documentary, so it's got to be true. He is one of the first examples of Photoshop usage in pictures that he would put himself in pictures bigger than world leaders that he was next to. They would move people, like he's sitting on a bench, and they moved the other guy closer to him because the other guy had a bigger following and clout. But Stalin made himself look bigger in the picture when he really wasn't. And it was all about just looks. Russia, well, when you go all the way back to freaking World War II, nobody in a million years ever would have thought that Hitler would have done what he did. But it started as propaganda. And propaganda starts small. That, the devil doesn't jump out from behind the bush on your way home going, I'm the devil. No. He tricks you into thinking he doesn't exist. Whenever he came out, if he would have said where they would have ended, they would have burnt him at the stake. If he would have came out and said, we're going to march people to their death, we're going to try to genocide a whole nation of people, they never would have, his soldiers would have turned out. They'd have walked out. But he slowly desensitized. He started with the younger generation, got them on board, and, he was going to breed the perfect super race. But it started with propaganda.
Benevolence of evil.
Yeah.
100%.
100%.
Yeah, the way that Hitler got the German people on board, like the way he got a third of the country to look away while another third of the country murdered the other third of the country, is really the same kind of propaganda that they used against the unvaccinated. They're dirty. It's the same thing. They ran propaganda about the Jews being dirty and carrying diseases. And they ran that hard, in the years, leading up to putting everybody on trains, which they got everybody on trains by telling them it was for their safety. Come out of your house and follow us. It's for your safety. What does that sound like? History rhymes. We're right back in the ruling class knows how to manipulate a public. They would be killing people that are dissidents and unvaccinated and all sorts of stuff if we didn't have guns in this country. That's where we are historically.
Absolutely. There's a group of people, I promise you, that would see nothing wrong with taking every church member and watching them walk a plank.
No, I mean Stalin murdered 30 million people. Mao murdered 50 million. Most of those were they've murdered Christians since the very beginning. They hate Christians because they won't worship the state.
And think about in murdering a lot, especially over in Russia, they didn't just murder them; they let them starve to death.
Oh yeah, yeah. That people. Yeah, that's
They watched.
China,
They
too.
starved their people,
China too.
and
Yeah, Mao was bad at that.
Mao was the worst.
Yeah, Mao was bad.
and here we are now. We're in a position that we do live in a great country. I mean, freedom, even though we're being infringed on, we can hop in the car right now, the three of us, and say, "Hey, we're going to go to Montana." And
You
we
know
can-
why?
And we can do it.
Because we have guns. We are historically at the stage in this country, the stage of, propagate, like just the rollout of genocide, which we know historically how that goes, where they would be going door to door killing people if there weren't 400 million guns in this country.
There's a gun within 10 inches of my hand right now.
But they know
There's a
that.
gun
That's
on
the
my
only
belt right
reason.
She knows this. I have magnets under here, and there's guns.
I love it. I feel so safe in here.
Nothing to worry about here.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you something about guns. Well, let's get on guns for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and I'm gonna have the owner, the president of Trinity Armory on. We're gonna really get into some gun
Good.
talk. Think about this, Joe. I don't know what your carry is, but you can take that gun right now. You can chamber it. I can go grab my little Kel-Tec or my, any one of them. Which I've really gotten a Canic lately. I got some great pistols. Anyways, I can chamber it. I can go out my driveway. I can throw that gun up in the air 500 times. How many times do you think it's going to go off?
Never if your finger's off the trigger.
Never if your finger's off the trigger. Guns don't go off.
They just don't go bang.
Yeah.
That's not how it
And
works.
people say, "Oh, you gun toting." You don't understand.
No, they don't. But they don't. They don't know anything about.
I heard a
guns.
comedian say it so well. The very first thing we wrote was, "You can say whatever you want," and then we're like, number two, you probably need to get a gun.
Have you ever heard these politicians try to talk like they know what they're talking about? With
Oh, it's
weapons?
pathetic.
It's a total fucking clown show.
It-
It totally is.
And
These
you
people
think they would
no
have a
bu-
you think they would have a page going, "Hey, you don't know what you're
Yeah.
talking about."
Get your facts straight, but it doesn't matter because they're speaking to the uneducated anyway.
That's right.
It doesn't matter. And people look at that as that's the truth. If it's coming out of their mouth, we voted for it. It must be true. No, it's not, morons.
My dad was talking about something the other day from church, and he said the word abracadabra means I speak, so I create. So back when the magicians, they would say abracadabra, they're creating, they're doing magic. That is the way our leaders have gotten. Abracadabra, I speak and I create reality to you, because people are so ingrained. If they say it, it's got to be true.
I mean, they're all up in arms about the AR, right? And it's like,
Well, that
dude,
stands for assault rifle, according to them,
yeah,
because
I
they know a
don't-
lot
I
about
mean,
guns.
what is, screw Armalite, right?
Armalite rifle.
And it's like it's a 22 with more powder, man. They're talking about it creating a 50 cal, hole and an inch diameter exit wound. It's like, dude, it's a 22, or it's not.
You understand this? It's like an alcoholic that comes in and is talking about, well, I just drink beer now. It's alcohol.
Bargain, huh?
It's like, well, these AR-15s, I got to get rid of these.
Yep.
It's a gun. I can go get a different gun and shoot up in a play. What the hell?
Hey,
this doesn't have anything to do.
Hitler took over the world with 32 caliber and 9mm.
It's exactly what you're saying. It's just a low information public, that bites on that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the AR-15s are the problem. No, do you know how many other kinds of guns there are?
Yeah. You want to talk about a real hole? Go get a Ma Deuce, I'll tell you,
But they don't know anything about guns.
They
It's just,
don't.
it's scary, and all these rednecks with the things that they let kids shoot up. It's just ridiculous.
It absolutely is, and they're speaking to an uneducated public, like you said, and the best line of defense against any enemy, foreign and domestic, is a firearm.
Is a firearm.
It's a firearm.
That's the only reason that the Japanese didn't invade
Never
us.
invaded because there would be an American with a gun behind every blade of grass.
That's right.
Yeah.
They were smart. That was smart.
They knew. China better
They
understand
knew.
the same damn
Well,
thing.
I
too.
have a theory that the reason we're having all these, accidents with the trains lately is because they know that we have too many guns for them to go door to door, so they got to poison us and destroy our economy instead.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely there's actually some psyops, warfare going on.
I can't prove that, but again, that's a good example of look around, see what's going on. What do you think? Well, I can't prove this, but that certainly makes sense to me.
Makes
And
perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Well, they jump on they try to jump on every chance they can to get guns out of here, don't they?
Absolutely.
And look, it's part of our culture. That's one of the things that this country was founded on. Was see that to me is that's my deal, man. I don't give a shit about all your propaganda and all the stuff, all the lies you want to put out. You start talking about taking our guns, I got a problem with that.
I got a problem with that.
That right there is my tipping point.
Good.
When you start talking about taking our guns away, you ain't taking my guns away.
I always thought, like in college before, I knew how bad this situation was before everybody else kind of caught on during COVID is mostly when people started catching on.
Yeah,
But
COVID opened people's eyes.
yeah,
it did.
I really thought, once they get caught messing with people's kids, things will change. And that's helped. But you're right. I used to tell this to people on the coast that would laugh about all the rednecks in the middle of the country that they're going to crush and destroy because they're worthless and all that. It's like, you guys have never been here, have you? Like, you guys, they really don't understand that they're not going to disarm anybody. They think they can. They think they will. And I'm just like, I guess you guys are going to have to learn the hard way. You won't. And
Look at some of these sheriffs that in these states where they're trying to, and the sheriff's like, we're not going to uphold it.
I'm not in Fort. Thank God I live in Montgomery County.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm serious.
Montgomery County's a great county.
Montgomery County is a great county
If
here.
they want to fight, they'll get one here.
They'll get one in Montgomery County.
Hopefully y'all
And
elect
our law
Sheila Jackson
enforcement,
Lee in.
You've got guys like Rand Henderson up there. You've got Ryan Gable. All those leaders, those law enforcement leaders in the community up there. And there's other ones. I just don't know I just don't know any of those personally. But they've all come out and said, we're going to protect our people. They all believe in our Second Amendment rights because they're critical to our freedom in this country.
Thank God.